Now, in many ways, the transition to this is going to resemble the theme of this gathering: disrupt, rethink, redesign. We're in the disruption phase right now. And I see it in places that I'm visiting in the US and around the world. The incumbents are hunkering down. They're not doing what ASU is doing. They're not forcefully, fully going forward into this new learning economy. They're hunkering down. They think we're just going to return to some sort of normal, but increasingly there is no such thing. We're only going forward to something new. This reminds me of something else that happened to me in 1995. Before I ended up in North Carolina, I was in Arizona working at the Arizona Republic. And in the summer of 1995, the Arizona Republic, like most newspapers, went online. And I remember a presentation to the reporters in the newsroom by the head of the online worldwide web effort at the Arizona Republic, which was the newspaper where I was working that summer. And he was just talking about how great it is going to be that newspapers and news are moving online. And there's always a skeptical reporter in the room, and one reporter raised their hand and they said, "Well, won't this put us out of business?" And the person heading up said, "No, people will always want to get a print newspaper delivered to their home, or they'll want to pick it up at a newsstand." 1995. A decade later, many newspapers were struggling because of Google and because of Craigslist, and eventually because of something now we carry around in our pocket where we could read the news. So this disruption is already happening, just like it was happening in 1995 to my industry of newspapers. We heard that yesterday on the panel that I moderated, how much disruption is happening, things like at Tech with their competency-based education model. So it's already happening. The redesign phase, I think, is going to be the hardest. The future is a little bit ambiguous, and we don't quite know how to get there. I want to end today on where I see most of the success in the institutions and organizations that I follow and that I'm part of. And in many ways, I think those having the most success are those where leaders celebrate small wins instead of trying to do it all in 1 year. This is how I see a lot of change happening in higher ed, particularly in the US. It's very iterative. It's not overnight. Even the model that President Crow outlined yesterday has happened over the course of his 20-plus years at Arizona State University, right? Transformation is always iterative at first. And in particularly, right, so we start with, at the very top, lots of experiments. And we start to see which ones are failing, which ones fail, but which ones succeed. And then in the middle, we apply the ones that succeed. Maybe we put them into one department and see how they go. The big one, though, and I think the one that President Crow talked about yesterday, is changing the culture. And that's the hardest one at many organizations that I work with. Because most organizations employ in scarcity. Again, they try to protect what they already have. And I will tell you, if you're not happy about the present, you're not going to be that excited about the future. And when I'm working with professors and faculty members and other university leaders, I always tell them, think about the rule of thirds. You will always have a group that will be against you no matter what. You will always have a group in the middle that doesn't really care. They'll just go along with the flow. What you really want to do are find those stakeholders that are willing to go with you and be those first movers. If you have that third, you can move forward. Again, it's very much like that story that President Crow told yesterday about Columbia, where they have to have 100% agreement to move forward on anything. If we do that, we're never going to get to organizational transformation. Eventually, places like Columbia, the elites, they will join in. They may not like what ASU is doing now, but trust me, in 20 years, they're going to be joining in on a lot of that, as will institutions around the world. And that's okay that the elites are the last to come around, because they'll legitimize the concepts that are being tested out right now. One closing thought. The demand for learning as we know, around the world is greater than ever before in human history. And as a result, the assignment ahead of us is both an extraordinary opportunity, but also an extraordinary challenge. But let me leave you with this. As I've been sitting with all of you over the last couple of days, I had to call my 88-year-old mother yesterday to tell her about this conference. My mother didn't even go to college. She barely graduated from high school. My father was a high school music teacher. And here I am over the last couple of days talking about the future of higher education, the future of the workforce, with people around the world. It is my story, Michael Crow's story, so many of your stories are stories of learning and excelling. And to me, that is the story of the next generation as well.